What's going on, guys? It's January 8th, 2020, and I know I've been missing for the last 5 days, but that is because as soon as I landed from LA on New Year's Day, I had to pack and move into a new apartment for those first 2 days. And then following that, for 3 days, I was extremely sick. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't move around or do anything in general, even editing. I was bedridden for 3 days. So unfortunately, for the last 5 days, I have been out of commission, but we're back to uploading vlogs as well as getting ready to release some behind the scenes and some tutorials that is coming this week and next week, and the 25K subscriber giveaway that will be coming to this channel within the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. So in today's video, I wanted to show you all my first class experience and what you will get when you go into first class, and some of the benefits, some of the positives, some of the negatives, what to expect in first class, how much it costs compared to the middle tier level, which for Delta would be the Comfort Plus, and the main cabin. So you have first class, Delta Comfort, and then main cabin. So we'll look at the price differences between all of that, and is it worth it for a visual creator to spend that money, or even to put that within the budget that a client or a company will give you when you're dealing with them for a budget. Is it worth spending that first class money in the budget, or is it better to just get a main cabin or Delta Comfort seat? Now real quick, I did want to explain that I didn't purchase a first class seat. I was upgraded from my main cabin seat to first class, and that is because of the rewards program with Delta that I'm currently enrolled in. And I've been enrolled in that program for the last 4 to 5 years since I did start working with 2 Chainz and traveling with that whole team. Basically what it is I'm a Diamond Medallion member with Delta, and that is the highest rewards within the program that you can get. They have Diamond, Platinum, Gold, and then Silver. Diamond being the highest, Silver being the lowest. And basically what that entails is the higher up in the tier status that you go, the more perks and benefits you get. Some of that being, for example, for Diamond is I get 3 check bags for free, and I'm put into the upgrade system at a higher level and a higher list. Say for example, if I'm in main cabin, I automatically get put into the upgrade system for their Delta Comfort seats and for their first class seats. So for instance, if there's any seats available left in Delta Comfort or first class when it's time to board the plane, the people on that upgrade list automatically get upgraded to Delta Comfort or first class. So for my example, I was upgraded from main cabin all the way up into first class because when it came time to board, there was enough seats and I was high enough up on the list to be upgraded to first class from the main cabin seat. And that is also because I'm a Diamond member with the Delta Rewards program, so that is the highest tier that you can be with the Delta program. So that gives you a much better percentage of getting upgraded from main cabin to, say, Delta Comfort or first class. So right at the start of the flight process, you're gonna see a difference between first class and regular tier being main cabin and Delta Comfort. So when you check into LAX, Delta has its own first class check-in that's separate from Delta Comfort and main cabin. And not only does the first class check-in at LAX have its own lounge, but it also has its own complimentary snacks and beverages inside of the first class check-in station. And this is before you even go through TSA or security. This is the first part of the whole flight process, checking in at LAX through Delta with their first class check-in. You get a lounge, you get complimentary snacks and beverages before you even have to go through the whole security TSA process. So right at the start, you avoid the long check-in lines if you need to check in a bag when you're going through first class in their lounge. There's only a small percentage of people flying first class in Delta, so obviously you won't have to deal with the long line like you would in main cabin or Delta Comfort. And the great thing about it is if you're in first class and there is for some reason a line there, they have their own lounge where you can sit and wait comfortably while enjoying snacks and beverages, as opposed to being in Delta Comfort or main cabin flying where you just have to stand in the line and wait. Now after I did check in my bag in first class, I did go through the clear line, and you can purchase clear and or TSA pre-check. You don't have to be first class, you can purchase that, which is something that I would highly recommend to anybody that is flying frequently. So again, that is something that I would advise anybody who's flying frequently to go look up and purchase. And for TSA pre-check, I think you have to actually go to the airport and sit down and go through some security checks and checkpoints and stuff like that to get TSA pre-check. But both of those things I would recommend you getting if you are planning on flying frequently for your job. Now after going through everything through security and TSA, I did happen to go into the Delta Sky Club Lounge because I was early for my flight. So the Delta Sky Club Lounge is just a nicer version of the first class pre-check-in that I showed you. They offer food, drinks, liquor, everything in there is free, and they do cater this more towards their credit card members and their rewards members. mainly for the higher up members like the Platinum and the Diamond members, or if you have a credit card with Delta through American Express, which they offer the Platinum card, the Gold card, or their Delta Reserve card. They mainly cater that whole Sky Lounge towards like the credit card members and the rewards members program. It's not really just for first class members. Actually, I think even if you have a first class flight, you can't go into that Sky Club Lounge for free. You still have to pay something. So I'm not gonna really get into the Sky Club Lounge because it's not something that's catered specifically to the first class experience. And I don't even think if you have a first class seat, you can get in there for free. As I said, I think you do actually have to pay for it. Now, the actual boarding process getting onto the plane, this does favor the first class flyers over the main cabin and the Delta Comfort Plus flyers. When you're flying first class, you're going to be the first group of people that's allowed to get onto the plane. The only people that get on before you is the active military and usually any elderly people that need extra assistance getting onto the plane. They need extra time to get onto the plane, get their bags on the plane, etc. Now, when you fly first class, you only have one person sitting next to you, and you have way more room in first class as opposed to Delta Comfort or main cabin. In Delta Comfort and main cabin, there's 3 seats per row, and obviously somebody's gonna have to deal with that dreaded middle seat. In first class, there's no middle seat. You don't have to deal with that. It's all good. You just have one person sitting next to you, and you all have plenty of room to deal with all your stuff or deal with whatever you have and that you brought onto the plane, and you have the overhead luggage space as well. So in first class, you're gonna have 2 flight attendants, and they're only gonna be catering to you and everybody else in first class. They don't deal with main cabin, they don't deal with Delta Comfort, they only specifically deal with first class, and obviously making sure anything with the pilots is okay and getting them anything they need as far as food, drink, etc. Now, while everyone else is boarding the plane, you're already going to be seated in your first class seat, and you'll usually have one of the flight attendants come to your row and ask you what you want to drink before you take off for your flight. That can be anything from a soda to a liquor to coffee, tea, whatever. And when you fly first class, all the beverages, including the liquor, is complimentary, and you can drink as much as you want. Yes, you can get wasted on the flight. Now, if you were a Delta Comfort or a main cabin flyer, you'd have to wait to get onto the plane, and you'd have to wait for the plane to take off, and about 30 minutes to an hour into the flight being in the air, that's when they come to the rows from the front of the plane all the way into the back, and they take your order. And it takes a lot longer when you're dealing with way more aisles and way more people, as opposed to the first class only having the 5 rows on each side with the 2 seats per row. Now, main cabin flyers only get 1 snack and 1 complimentary drink. They do have to pay for the liquor, and if they want any other snacks besides that 1 complimentary snack, they do have to pay for it. Delta Comfort, they do get free drinks, including liquor, and they usually have somebody come with a snack tray as well, which is free and complimentary. They can usually get as much as they want within reason, because it's not first class, it is Delta Comfort, it is that middle tier, so they do get the snacks complimentary, and they do get the liquor free and the sodas free, but they're not given unlimited access as the first class flyers would be able to get. Now, Delta usually does offer in-flight entertainment, which is their TVs that are on the back of the headrest, and obviously first class is going to have the biggest screens out of the first class, main cabin, and Delta Comfort options. Main cabin and Delta Comfort do have pretty good sized TV options, but the first class TV that you get flying first class is going to be the biggest one out of all 3 options. Now, when it comes to a long flight from coast to coast, like LA to New York, New York to LA, Atlanta to LA, or LA to Atlanta, you're going to be given a meal in first class, an actual real meal, along with snacks and bottomless drinks, liquor or sodas. So when you're flying from coast to coast, you will get your own meal. As you can see here, I did actually pre-order my meal. They give you that option when you're flying first class to let you pick the meal before you get on the flight, and I chose to get the hamburger. The other option was not appealing, so I did eat the hamburger, and it came with like a little mini apple pie and a little mini like side salad, whatever the thing on the side was. It wasn't that great, to be honest. The first class meals are not that great unless you're flying internationally, so it's not like a huge perk of flying first class. I would rather give up the meal and just get more snacks. Their snack selection is way better than whatever meals they're offering on that flight. It is what it is. Obviously, everybody in main cabin and Delta Comfort, they can choose to get snacks or like a meal that comes in a box, but they don't get an actual prepared meal with a plate and a tray like how the first class members would. Now, something that I did want to focus on showing you all in first class is how much more room you do get as opposed to being in the main cabin or the Delta Comfort options. So as you can see here, I did have my laptop set up, and in front of me, below me, I did have my big backpack that was sitting underneath the seat. To the right of me, in the middle section between me and the person that was sitting next to me, I did have my 1DX with the Gorilla Pod attached to it in the middle. And on top of that, I did have like a little mini satchel bag that was to the left of me, while still being able to have plenty of leg room and have my charger hooked up to the outlet that is on the plane when you fly first class, plugged into my laptop. So I had all of these things around me and still was able to have plenty of leg room. You would not be able to accomplish this in Delta Comfort or main cabin, because now you're dealing with two other people sitting next to you, or you're sitting in the middle, or you're sitting in the window. But either way, you have way less room when it comes to flying in main cabin or Delta Comfort as opposed to first class. I would have not been able to have all this stuff set up and organized like this while still having plenty of leg room in main cabin or Delta Comfort. So when it comes to first class, that is something that I would put at the top of the list when it comes to the benefits of flying first class as opposed to flying Delta Comfort or main cabin. Now, with that being said, guys, let's take a look at the most important factor in making this decision when you want to figure out if you want to fly first class, Delta Comfort, or main cabin, and that's the pricing of the ticket. How much difference between first class, Delta Comfort, and main cabin is the pricing of the ticket going to be? Let's go ahead and look at that right now. We'll start with main cabin, then Delta Comfort, and then show you first class, and then we'll show the differences on how much it's going to cost to go from one tier to the next. Obviously, first class being the most expensive and the most beneficial and with the most benefits when you fly first class. So for this example, since I was upgraded from main cabin to first class from LA to Atlanta, let's take a look at how much a one-way would be. I won't do round trip. Let's take a look at how much a one-way from Los Angeles to Atlanta would be for main cabin, Delta Comfort, and first class. So the ticket prices from Los Angeles to Atlanta one-way would be as follows per tier. Main cabin is going to be $205.40. Delta Comfort Plus would be $349.40. And then first class would be $1,179.70. So as you can see, it's not a big difference to go from main cabin to Delta Comfort Plus, but when you go from Delta Comfort Plus all the way to first class, it's a huge jump. Now, to be fair, the example I did show was showing his new interior, and I think that that is the Boeing 777, which has the first class seats that do recline into an actual bed. Now, that is a huge difference flying that first class than even flying the first class that I flew. Obviously, like I said, it has the seats that do recline into a bed, so you're given that much more room when it comes to flying first class for Delta. You usually don't see those kind of amenities in first class unless you're flying international, but on obviously select flights going from coast to coast, they do have the option in first class. Usually the Boeing 777s are going to have that. You can check the flights to see what kind of Boeing flight it is going to be, so you can obviously tell if you're going to get the first class Boeing 77. That will have the one with the seats that do recline into the bed, and that's going to have way more room, and it's just going to be an even bigger experience than flying the first class that I did. But with that being said, if you did just like a regular Delta first class flight like I did, that doesn't have the seats that do recline into a bed, that one's going to be around $850 or $900. So it's still a big steep price jump going from $400 for that Delta Comfort Plus to basically paying double to get into that first class. And then if you go from the Delta Comfort to the first class that has the seat that does recline into a bed, now you're talking about going from $400 and change all the way up to $1,000 plus. So either way, whether you fly the first class that has, you know, the regular seats with the more room leg space, or you fly the first class that has the seat that does recline into a bed, it's going to be a big jump either way going from Delta Comfort to first class, and an even bigger jump going from main cabin to first class. So with all that being said, and me flying multiple times in first class, I would advise all of my visual creators to save your money and to not spend it flying first class. If you want to spend it to upgrade to maybe Delta Comfort, going from main cabin to Delta Comfort, it's only about $100 to $200 price difference. So that's more justifiable than going from, say, main cabin or from Delta Comfort all the way to first class, where you're going to be spending at least $500 to $600 more to go from that Delta Comfort or main cabin to first class. Now, to be fair, I have flown first class many times, but with that being said, I have never paid a dime to fly first class. And all the times that I have flown first class, unless it was international, which flying international first class, you're looking at least $5,000 to $10,000 depending on where you're flying. I would never spend the amount of money that you have to go to spend to get into first class as a visual creator if it messed with the project or dipped into the project fund or the budget fund for that specific project, or I would not spend that money if it was going to come out of my pocket. Every time that I've been in first class, it has been as an upgrade going from main cabin or Delta Comfort, being in that rewards program like I talked about earlier through Delta, which you as a visual creator can sign up for it. It doesn't even have to be Delta. Whatever airline you fly with the most, sign up for their rewards program through that airline and try to fly with that airline consistently. That's how you build up the perks. That's how you build up the rewards. That's how you get more points. That's how you rise up the tier for that specific airline's rewards program. That's how I went from being a silver in Delta going all the way to diamond medallion, which was because of traveling with 2 Chainz and the rest of the crew that travels with him when we go to shows or any kind of event. As a visual creator, I would not waste that money. I would not dip into your project fund. I would not dip into your own fund and take that out to fly first class. But to be fair, for somebody who's never flown first class who wants to experience that, go ahead, spend it one time. But this is why I made this video, so you can see what you get and to give you my own experience and my own personal opinion to let you know I wouldn't waste that money. But I can't say that as a visual creator, if I had never flown first class and I did have the money in one of the certain projects or scenarios, that I wouldn't spend it just to experience it. But it's not something that I would do consistently. I would only do it one time, and that would be it, just to get the experience out of it. Also, keep in mind too, if you're a visual creator and you're flying to a specific gig or a job, 9 times out of 10, that client or that artist has already agreed to pay for your booking and to pay for your hotel and your travel fee. And again, 9 times out of 10, that artist or that client is not gonna wanna spend that much more money to fly you first class. They're not gonna see a justifiable reason in paying that big of a price difference, like we talked about, going from a main cabin or a Delta Comfort seat to paying for you to go into first class, especially when they're gonna have to pay for your travel, they're gonna have to pay for your flight, they're gonna have to pay for the bags if you don't have a tier status with that certain airline, on top of paying your rate and whatever the budget is gonna cost for that specific project. So keep that in mind as well. You gotta look at it from the artist standpoint or the client standpoint. Like I said, I'm giving you an example of me flying around with 2 Chainz, who is a major international superstar. So when he gets booked and he has gigs, that's part of his, contract stipulation is he has to have a first class seat, but that's only for him. That's not for the rest of the people that travel with him. Anytime we get into first class, it's because of the rewards program, and it's because we got upgraded through that rewards program. It wouldn't make any sense for the client or the promoter to book 2 Chainz and then have to put every single one of us into first class on top of putting us into a 5-star hotel. It would cost way too much money for the promoter, or it would take money out of 2 Chainz pocket or budget that he was getting paid for. It just doesn't make sense. So you got to look at it through that aspect of, if a major international superstar is only getting 1 first class ticket, a client or a artist is not going to want to pay you as the visual creator to fly first class to come shoot his video when he knows he could either save that money and put it towards his budget for the music video, or that could go towards something, just anything in general related to the project. Now, on the flip side of it too, to make a point for always wanting to fly first class, if you're a visual creator, it's also always about comfort. And if you're one of those visual creators who's always flying from coast to coast, and you're dealing with projects where you can afford to fly first class, like I said, even if it does come out of your budget or it comes out of the music video budget, but it doesn't hinder the project, then some people care more about comfortability, because it will play a factor in getting the actual process done. If that person is more comfortable flying from coast to coast, to be comfortable to be able to do their work, to be able to set up certain things. Like I showed you, I was working on a vlog and I was also working on other projects while flying in first class because I had the comfortable space to be able to do that. If I was in main cabin or Delta Comfort, I wouldn't have had space to be able to pull out my laptop and my charger and, you know, work freely without worrying about somebody always wanting to get up, or maybe I wanted to get up, or just not having that much room. I would have been like this in main cabin or Delta Comfort trying to, you know, work on the laptop. Like, things got to get done, but it's also always about comfortability. So in that aspect, I can understand how some people would just put that money towards always flying first class if they were always flying from coast to coast. But if you were flying, you know, a 2-hour flight, I wouldn't say spend that money in first class. It's not worth it. And on top of that, like I said, I'm also the person who wouldn't spend that money in first class, even if you were going from coast to coast every time you fly. Certain scenarios, if you're tired and exhausted and you just want that comfortability, then yeah, sometimes it's worth it to spend that money for first class. But in most cases and in most scenarios, for a visual creator, it's not worth it to spend that money in first class. Also, most of you already know we as visual creators are already dealing with budgets and the client or the artist or the label trying to nickel and dime the budget, and that usually always comes back and falls on us, and we're always trying to have to figure out how to make a budget work because, you know, the client, the artist, or the label are always trying to make the budget smaller and smaller, especially in this time and era. It doesn't matter if it's an indie project or it's a major project. I've been in both lanes and in both sides of the scenario, the major music videos and the independent music videos. The budgets are not getting bigger, even though the profits are still starting to rise. You know, in 2019 and 2020, especially in hip hop, the budgets are not getting bigger because there's so many pro DSLRs and there's so many pro cameras that people can get access to now, that most labels don't want to have to shell out those 100 to 200K plus unless you're a big time artist like those, you know, Justin Bieber, Chris Brown, Rihanna's, the people that they know they'll get that investment back from putting those 6-figure plus budgets for music videos, because there's still music videos out there where, you know, Joe Schmo went into Best Buy and bought, you know, a $2,000 or $3,000 camera, shot a music video for an artist, and that artist got the same amount of views as the person in the major industry that's a major artist that, you know, spent $100,000 plus on a music video, and both those got the same amount of views. So a label will look at it like, why do we need to spend 6 figures when this person spent, you know, 5 to 10,000 and they got the same amount of views as this artist who we spent 100K plus on? They both got the same amount of views. So that's how labels look at it. They've always wanted to nickel and dime things, and usually as a visual creator, it always falls back on us. So you gotta have to keep that in mind as well. So with all that being said, personally, I would spend the money on a Comfort Plus seat at best. I wouldn't spend that money on a first class seat. I would spend that money on a Delta Comfort seat, but from Delta Comfort to first class, it's too big of an upgrade as far as the price difference to be able to justify always doing that if it's gonna, like I said, either come out of your pocket or it's going to come out of the budget for the actual project that you're working on with the client or the artist. I hope you all guys found this video informative and you learned something from it. Let me know down in the comments below what you would do after you found out how much all these tickets would cost from main cabin to Delta Comfort to first class. And let me know your reasoning on why you either would or you would always spend that money to upgrade to first class, or to just get the first class ticket whenever you fly related to being a visual creator. Also, as always, if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and share this video, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the content that I am dropping on this channel. Check in with you all guys later.